choosing Across the Fence. I'm Will Michael in for Fran Stoddard. Lilacs are one of spring's most fragrant and of course beautiful flowers. The most common color is light purple, but the blossoms are found in a variety of hues. The peak season of the lilac bush is mid-spring, usually in May. Even though it's brief, the air is filled with its fragrance. Keith Silva learned more about lilacs when he visited the University of Vermont's horticulture farm and spoke with the farm's lilac curator.
Lilacs are technically speaking a shrub.
Kitty Werner loves lilacs.
There's something like 11 listed colors of the lilacs, ranging from yellow, blue, white, pinks, mauve. Lilacs are not native to Vermont. They actually came from China, Korea, Japan, part of Eastern Europe. They need to be cold in the wintertime. They have to go through that whole freeze process. Otherwise, they just won't grow. And that's why you find them in the colder areas. You can't grow them down south.
Werner is a member of Friends of the Horticultural Farm, a grassroots organization dedicated to protecting, enhancing, and promoting the plant collections and natural areas at the University of Vermont's Horticulture, Research, and Education Center in South Burlington. Terry Bradshaw manages the horticultural farm.
The lilac collection was started by Professor Norman Pellet at the beginning of his career. He was an ornamental horticulturalist, and Norm has long been retired. It's done its work. The industry knows what lilacs it needs and which of those are valuable and which of those are in the trade, but there's still some pretty neat varieties in there. And so we've kept it on the farm since then, and the Friends of the Horticulture Farm maintain that collection mostly as just a place of beauty and as a specimen collection of old varieties. This is a pretty significant piece of real estate in South Burlington, and so a lot of people can interface with it, even though they may not on a regular basis. So this provided a way for the community to get engaged and have some kind of relationship with the place. They started partially to maintain these extant collections that were left over. Expensive, it took a lot of labor to prune and maintain these things. And it's unique. I go to a lot of operations like this, other ag research stations at other schools. I've never seen one that has this kind of relationship with a group.
With a little help from her fellow friends, Werner has been cultivating, cutting, and caring for the lilacs here in an effort to bring them back to their former glory.
We're cleaning these guys up. We're adding compost and mulch and things like that and trying to bring them back to what they should be. Trying to rescue them. Several of them are in the process of sadly dying because we get a lot of invasive plants, bittersweet, grapevines, black locust trees, crab apples growing in them. We've had oak, maple.
Kitty, what are the top 3 tips you have for caring for lilacs?
Location, location, location. They like dry feet. Average to more alkaline soil. And with the alkaline soil, if you don't have enough, add lime in the fall around the roots, not the stems. Number 2 would be pruning. If you want to do the major prune after the lilacs bloom, but if it's dead, anytime. That's not a problem. And you want to make sure when you're pruning, if you have a big old one, it's okay to take out not more than 1/3 of the plant and the 3 oldest canes. And the last one is spare the shoots. When you're mowing, if you use a heavy mower, don't get too close to the lilac. You're going to squash the roots and you're going to kill everything. And those are the little shoots are the ones that are going to save the plant for the future.
Lilacs, like spring in Vermont, comes late and stays only briefly. But what a time it is. What a time it is.
Tells you that this is spring's finally here.
For Werner and the Friends of the Horticultural Farm, the time is now. In South Burlington, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
Lilacs, of course, aren't the only plants emerging during spring. Vermont is home to more than 2,800 plant species. Some are rare, others are threatened or endangered. We're going to learn more in this report from our archives with Rebecca Gollin.
Vermont's landscape is full of plants and flowers that even an untrained eye would recognize. such as red clover, sumac, and our state tree, the sugar maple. But look closer, and you might see something a little more unusual.
There's 3 federally endangered plants that have occurred in Vermont.
Botanist Bob Popp works for the Department of Fish and Wildlife, keeping track of the rare and endangered plants in the state.
More or less about 440 that are rare, endangered, and threatened. And of those, there's 161 that are actually legally protected on the endangered and threatened species list.
On this day, Popp is giving a talk at the Rokeby Museum in Ferrisburg, focusing on those plants.
These are not plants that people routinely see because, by definition, they are rare. And some of them occur in 1 or 2 locations in the entire state.
Audience members range from experienced conservation volunteers
inspired to be a detective. Now that I know what is rare, I want to find more of it.
to interested outdoors enthusiasts.
It would be a good feeling for many rock climbers if they could be out there also looking for habitats and rare plants.
Charlotte resident Gray Beretta is an avid rock climber and wants to know more about identifying what he sees in the woods.
My interest is finding rare, unusual anything in the woods, whether it's a rock formation like they have back here, or the just a combination of trees that you don't normally see. So it's finding how diversity makes and displays itself in the wild, and then kind of trying to bring that back to my work.
Beretta is also a farmer, and this knowledge will inform the way he interacts with the land he works on.
I loved how, as much as we figure out ways as farmers to make something productive every year, it's another reason why we should have diversity.
While some species are becoming more rare because of changes in climate and habitat, Vermont's unique geology is also a contributor.
A lot of these plants in Vermont are rare because they require very, very specialized habitats. And Vermont, as you probably know, and most of your viewers probably know, has a lot of limestone. So we have things like in the Champlain Valley and even on the Waits River Formation in the Connecticut Valley that don't really occur anywhere else in New England.
I am a big picture person, so I go out and look at whole landscapes and patterns and why things grow where they do. And he's good at answering that as well, like connecting the rare plant to calcium in the water that comes from the rocks. So I like the way he tells the stories about these plants.
Alicia Daniel is a naturalist for the city of Burlington. Having rare species in city limits presents challenges for stewardship.
What are the significant rare plants in Burlington? How can we steward them? You know, what do they need? You know, how can we not just run roughshod over where they are? And in our city, there are a number of them, and one of them, for instance, that I have always appreciated is the yellow lady slipper. And so when you get this charismatic, beautiful orchid in your backyard and you get to go out and see it and you feel like you're almost in the tropics or something, it makes you appreciate even the little things that are out there that are unusual and rare.
After the talk, Daniel and plant conservation volunteer Kate Cruzy showed me some examples of rare plants here in Burlington.
Lake Champlain used to be connected to an ocean. We still have relict maritime plants around Lake Champlain.
Cruzy and her fellow volunteers work around Vermont, helping Popp and his colleagues at the Department of Fish and Wildlife identify rare plants and collecting seeds.
I've always been a plant geek my whole life and lived in various corners of Vermont. I work for the New England Wildflower Society as a plant conservation volunteer. And the state botanists, Bob being the senior state botanist, prioritizes what are the rare plant populations they want to confirm are still here in the state, or are they not still here.
The species Cruzy looks for are extremely remote or haven't been seen for many years.
And it's all about finding those natural communities and locations and understanding the natural communities that you see. And so I keep learning and honing those skills. Those are still new skills for me, but they're logical. If you get out there often, you start to see the patterns and know, oh, I have a good chance of finding that creamy vetchling here because this is the same habitat in which I found it before.
And this is a very unusual habitat along freshwater in New England. You see it along ocean coasts, but it's kind of uncommon around lakes. So here we have it, and it's ideal for this particular rare plant.
Cruzy and Daniel both admit that identifying rare plants can be tricky, even for those that, like them, have a lot of experience. Going to talks and field trips with experts like Pop helps stay on top of new discoveries.
It's called the northeastern bulrush because it's pretty much endemic to the northeast. We do get reports from the public, like amateurs, and we made some great discoveries from just interested amateurs and things who thought they saw something, and in some cases it turns out to be right, and that's kind of awesome.
He showed us that extremely rare plant that someone found along the shores of Lake Champlain, and it's just exciting. It's exciting. Here's something no one saw for 100 years, and then someone found it again. So I'm all about diversity. I love everything that lives here now. I'd love for it to live here in the future, and so his approach to using rare plants kind of as a test of how we're doing in saving our wild world is so important to me.
While many of the plants that are rare in Vermont may be common somewhere outside of the state, Pop says that's not a reason to stop paying attention to what's going on here.
It's part of Vermont's heritage. I mean, these plants have been here, they've maybe always been rare, but if they're gone, then, they're not part of Vermont anymore, and we have to go to New York or the Midwest or Canada to see them. And that would be, to me, that'd be a terrible loss.
It's a treasure hunt through Vermont's landscape that has a prize you can't put a price on. In Ferrisburg, I'm Rebecca Gollin with Across the Fence.
And we'll be seeing a lot more plants emerging on our landscapes as spring advances. That is our program for today. We know you have choices, so thanks for choosing us. I'm Will Michael, inviting you to join us back here each weekday afternoon for another visit Across the Fence.